How's it going, Yankee fans? Welcome back to Fireside Yankees with your boys, Alex and Ryan. Today we're talking about the catcher position for this New York Yankee team and, of course, some decent prospects. One specific prospect we have in mind that is elevating his game in AA right now. There's a good argument to make he should be in AAA. I know Ryan has a lot of thoughts and perspectives on that specifically, but if you haven't figured it out, we're going to talk about Austin Wells. And this is a lefty slugger that has a lot of potential offensively, guys. If he could just elevate his defensive quality a bit, we're talking about a dual threat catcher offensively and defensively. The Yankees haven't had that good of an offensive catcher since Jorge Posada, and, Trevino's really taken a big step backward offensively. We'll talk about that and kind of where the position is going, if the Yankees necessarily need to make any changes, or, if Wells will end up becoming an outfielder or a first baseman or a DH. There's a lot of things that can happen over the next couple of years, but I think that he is primed and ready to become a AAA player, which will put him in a position to get elevated at some point over the next year or so. Obviously, he missed spring training due to, I think it was a fractured rib of sorts, so that was unfortunate. But Ryan, before we dive into Austin Wells in this catcher position, how you do today, my friend?
I'm doing great. I think this is an excellent opportunity for us to talk about a guy who, quite frankly, should not be in AA. I've talked about this before with, kind of where I have some small grievances with the organization. And Austin Wells is kind of the perfect example of this. This is a guy with a 137 WRC plus on the season in AA, meaning he's 37% better than the league average hitter. He's working his walks. His strikeout rate isn't too high, and he hits the ball in the air a ton. I'm stunned looking at this metric. 60% fly ball rate, guys. This guy loves putting the ball in the air. And as a left-handed hitter, looking at Yankee Stadium, he pulls the ball a lot. It's kind of the perfect situation where his swing is literally perfect for Yankee Stadium. We had Chris Kirschner on, during spring training. He talked about Austin Wells as someone that could be a dark horse for a corner outfield spot. Not to start the season, of course, but that the Yankees feel like his swing is perfectly optimized for Yankee Stadium. And I fully agree. Getting to see him in person, when you see him in person, when you see videos, clips of him hitting, when you see the numbers, all of that stuff concludes that he should be, a really good hitter at the major league level at some point, and quite frankly, he shouldn't be in AA. This isn't his first stint in AA. He was in AA to finish the year last year, had a 129 WRC plus in that sample size, getting progressively better as the season carried on. There's nothing else we need to learn about him, and this is really the question I would present to the Yankees front office about promoting Wells to AAA. What are you going to find out about Wells in 2 weeks, 3 weeks that you don't know already right now? If their argument is that he needs to get better defensively, why can't that happen in AAA? Is there a difference between AA and AAA in terms of what works well for framing? Because while yes, your AAA pitchers should be better on paper, it's like the AA pitchers the Yankees have aren't very good. Clayton Beeter, Richard Fitz, Will Warren was there for a little bit. There is definitely a lot of talent in terms of pitching talent at that level for the Yankees. And I'd argue the Somerset Patriots are their strongest team in terms of organizational depth, outside of maybe the Hudson Valley Renegades, where they have Spencer Jones, Drew Thorpe, Chase Hampton, all those guys. But all things considered, really, what is the argument against him being in AAA? This guy should be getting ready to take major league at-bats at some point. It's June 10th. There's no reason why he isn't being ready to take major league at-bats right now. His bat is advanced. He's clearly dominated AA level. If you want to look at age, experience, collegiate performance, whatever you want to look at, this dude is proven that every level that all he knows how to do is hit. Right? That is the thing he knows how to do. Defense is a question mark. Whether he'll be able to stick at the position or not is, it remains to be seen. But I actually wanted to look at some framing data that we have from Baseball Prospectus that actually gives us some look at his minor league framing data. Last year, he was a positive in framing runs, 4.1. This year, it's 0.4 in a smaller sample size. Of course, he isn't playing as much because the season hasn't gone on as much as it has last year. And he's been a positive framer for 2 years straight now. Even with high A in 2022, he had 4.9 framing runs. So far in the season, he's a positive framer, and we have a pretty decent sample size of that. There are guys like, look at Francisco Alvarez, pegged as, is he a question mark defensively? Can he be a great defensive catcher? Look at his defensive numbers. They're through the roof, right? Framing is a teachable skill, right? Now, am I going to sit here and say that Austin Wells is going to be throwing out everyone on the base paths? No, but is Jose Trevino and Kyle Higashioka doing that? Also no. I feel like framing is a teachable enough skill that the Yankees can have that develop in AAA or at the major league level. And at the very least, can the guy learn how to play the corner outfield spot? Because he would really be able to help this team and help them contribute offensively. And as a left-handed hitter, that's something the Yankees haven't had, as you mentioned, since Jorge Posada. So really a golden opportunity for them to get a huge upgrade offensively at the position, and I feel like they're not taking advantage of it.
Right. I mean, look, that's kind of the situation you referenced earlier, as I kind of mentioned early in the episode, is that he should be in AAA. The only person standing in his path at the AAA level at the catcher position is Ben Rortvedt. And the only reason Ben Rortvedt is playing is because they are scared that Kyle Higashioka or Jose Trevino will go down. They need a backup, and Rortvedt could step in immediately. Obviously, he has a little bit more experience than Austin Wells. But there's a good argument to make that, what's the difference between Austin Wells and Ben Rortvedt? It's probably marginal at best. No, Rortvedt's a little bit better defensively, but again, you gotta let these guys get some action at some point, whether it's at catcher or a different position. But there's a couple things that I actually really like. There's a couple quotes I wanted to read to you guys from Somerset's hitting coach, and then of course from Luis Severino, which is a really good one. I think you'll like this, Ryan. So Somerset's hitting coach Jake Hurst said of Austin Wells, he said Austin's ceiling is high. He's a very natural hitter. He's a special hitter. When he's going his best, he has the ability to drive the ball the other way, so we can spray the ball all over the place. But this is my favorite thing. So a couple of weeks ago, Luis Severino, coming back from the lat injury, working his way back and rehabilitating with Somerset, he actually ended up pitching to Austin Wells. And this is what he said about Austin Wells. He said, I really like him. He has a good bat, and he's really good behind the plate. He blocks some balls. He called some good pitches. I think he's really good. So Luis Severino coming out and saying that about Austin Wells says to me that he might be making that progress as a catcher to make it to AAA, retain that spot, and continue building off the success he's currently enjoying. What are your thoughts on that? Severino coming out and saying that about Austin Wells specifically, I think that's a pretty nice thing for us to kind of talk about, and obviously it says a lot about where Wells is now compared to where he was maybe 2 years ago.
Yeah, absolutely. Look, Luis Severino is someone who's not shy to talk about things he enjoys or doesn't enjoy. When he was talking about the AAA strike, automatic strike zone, he was like, I hate this. This is awful. I never want to deal with this again. So hearing him have high praise for Austin Wells is definitely encouraging. And that's a guy that's on your major league pitching staff. Now, I've said this before. You really feel uncomfortable making a catching change in season for one big reason: familiarity with your pitching staff, right? You don't want a situation where, Garrett Cole's like, man, I have no idea what this guy wants in terms of game calling. You don't want to be put in a situation where your rookie catcher doesn't feel like he has the authority to call pitches over his major league guys. And not saying that like the major league pitchers we have are like egotistical or anything like that, but it is fair to say that they like to call, they like to have their games called a certain way. They like the framing of Jose Trevino. Hell, they love it, right? Jose Trevino is great at what he does. His pregame preparation. There are countless reports and stories just talking about how good he is at his pregame preparation, the rapport he has with pitchers. Same with Kyle Higashioka, and that's going to be something that's difficult to disrupt. But for the Yankees, right, could they use Austin Wells? He has experience in the corner outfield. Just get him reps somewhere on the field, and have him occasionally work behind the dish. And again, working with Jose Trevino and Kyle Higashioka, are there any other catching tandems you want him working with? Like, is there anyone else who could teach him more about working with pitchers than Jose Trevino and Kyle Higashioka? I don't think so, right? Obviously, coaches, that's one thing. But in terms of player experience, he has two major league veterans, not two guys who are just one-year wonders who have been here for 1 year, 2 years, but two guys who have been in the league for a while, who knows what goes into being a great defensive catcher and can teach a lot to Austin Wells. So it's good to see that guys on the major league level are giving him praise. It's good to know that there are guys at the major league level who can teach him. And overall, the Yankees, the issue with the Yankees, if you look at what they've had issues with in terms of spending and all that stuff, they had to acquire Josh Donaldson to fill in third base because they didn't have a guy internally who could handle the position, right? Peraza was still a while away, Volpe was still a while away, so they didn't have anyone there. Making those type of acquisitions happen because you don't have organizational depth. So for the Yankees, they have to do a better job of having prospects who can fill in at these positions and developing position players and pitchers who can fill in at these positions so they don't have to go out and throw money and make big expensive gambles that end up backfiring, right? Do the Yankees have to pay Carlos Rodon $162 million if they had a pitching prospect ready to take the mantle, right? And you may say, well, how are you going to trust a rookie? There are a lot of teams who have turned the ball to rookies. Look at Spencer Strider, completely, just absolutely dominating last season and giving the Braves an ace-level pitcher, and that was his first year in the league, right? He was a rookie and had little to no minor league experience. So, the Yankees have to do a much better job at this. Again, the Braves, another example here, Michael Harris last year, they called him up to fill out a position in center field. They needed outfield help. So instead of throwing millions of dollars at a guy who's risky or making a bad trade, they go out and they just fill it in organizationally. They keep their prospects and they make smart trades, right? Am I saying that Brian Cashman's to blame for the fact that, they signed Carlos Rodon? No, I was sitting here saying the Yankees should have signed Carlos Rodon. So it would be hypocritical of me on June 10th when the postseason hasn't even begun to sit here and call call Carlos Rodon a bad signing and give crap to Cashman on it, but Cashman doesn't have to make those decisions and doesn't have to, take those type of gambles if you have the organizational depth. And Austin Wells presents an opportunity for the Yankees to not have to make a trade for a catcher at the deadline and feel as if, they lose the deal or whatever. It gives them an opportunity to maybe not to have to make a risky trade for a left-handed bat or throw a lot of money at a guy who may not be worth it. It gives them an opportunity to go internally, right? And if that flops, you're able to move off of that pretty easily. Anthony Volpe's been bad with the bat at the major league level, but because you have Oswald Peraza right there, if things continue to go south, you just make that switch. There's no prospects that are traded. There's no money invested in a different position. You just make a small switch, and it costs you nothing. So, having the internal depth, the organizational depth to make replacements is good, and Austin Wells is an opportunity for the Yankees to do that. And the fact that he's in Double-A just speaks to the fact that they're not taking him seriously enough, I think, or they're just not paying attention because this dude needs to be in Triple-A right now.
Absolutely. But guys, I'd love to hear your perspectives below on Austin Wells and, of course, the catcher position. Do you think the Yankees need to go out and find somebody? Or do you think they need to kind of expedite this process here and get him up to a major league level within the next few months or by next year? I think he was definitely going to be in the mix because of spring training, the injury that held him back. He wasn't able to even make an impact or even play any games. So that was unfortunate. But next year, we'll certainly get to see him. We'll certainly get to see some of these top prospects elevating their game. I know a couple of them, notably one of your guys, Ryan Everson Pereira, has been pretty solid lately in Double-A, so maybe he gets the call up soon as well. We'll see what happens. But as always, my friends, happy for you guys to join us on Fireside Yankees. Make sure to like and subscribe as always, and we'll catch you guys on the next one.